Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out Mushi-Shi episode 7, and I honestly don't know what I'm gonna get from this, other than, like, probably an existential crisis, a new outlook on being a human and what my existence means, and the need to go on a long walk and contemplate the meaning of life. That's probably fine, right? Like, I feel like it's probably totally okay to be dealing with all of that, but this one is called Raindrops and Rainbows. Feels like that would be nice, but who knows how that'll actually turn out. In 3, 2, 1, go. I find it a little bit ironic that whilst I am filming this particular episode that specifically says raindrops and rainbows, I'm also getting a warning of heavy rain of where I live. So that's feels like a lining up of coincidences. I don't know. Just seems like a little serendipitous. But who knows we're gonna deal with this. I feel like maybe I would like something that doesn't lean as far into like the inevitability of death. So I feel like the last couple did, right? Because we had the Mushi and the girl that was like sacrificed, and then in the last episode we had like the young girl who was almost like a deity, but like the fact that she was like life is too long. And I don't know how to deal with the fact that there's like a clarity to the like shortened 24 hours of like existing, and then like the clock resets. So I need something that like maybe is gonna get me like a little bit less in my feels. Will that happen? Who knows with this series? I understand that is a bit more in the kind of spiritual, supernatural realm. Beautiful mountains all over the place though, and like every episode. So we got the raindrops. And then we can get the rainbow. Is the rainbow important? Is there something at the end of the rainbow? Stay? Why? What's at the end of the rainbow? I don't think I know anything in regards to rainbows from like a Japanese like folklore side of things. Which is kind of what I like about this series. I like that there's like some like kind of like folklore stuff mixed in. Interesting that we had the one shot with whoever we were introduced at the beginning, and then Ginkgo, but like that they weren't like a necessarily lined up shots, unless you're there. Okay, so you're the guy from before, I think. Again, timeline things. What a goblin. Just like, get me food. I mean, sell me food, to be fair. Ooh. Why are we associating a rainbow with a corpse? The look on their face. Why do I get the feeling he knows the story and he's just like, tell again. Good lineup of the shots. You seem a little bit out of it. Is that why the rainbow? Why we said like stay before? Is it about your dad? I mean, I don't mind the rain, but I'm not that bad. troublesome is such a downplaying of how strange that is. And everyone just is kind of aware of this? Interesting to have water again. We had water before with the moving marsh. But it would feel that way. I'm assuming mushi of some kind, so like perhaps also sort of associated with water? So we have like one who's interested and one who's like not, of the like two like brothers. We have flood, also water. Bridges. It's interesting. Bridge, but also like rainbow, like arch. But also bridges are like liminal, crossing over. End of a rainbow. It's trippy. So is it an actual rainbow? Is it like do we hit something important that is like a underground mushi of some kind, perhaps? Oh dear. Like maybe it's not a rainbow, but it's like refracting light? Like water? Like a rainbow? Okay, so maybe it isn't a spectrum if it's like changing shape. Maybe it is like mushi in a rainbow array. So strange to have like the craving of wanting to be with the rainbow, but then also the like thirst. That's what I was kind of assuming, that we're gonna get like an illness. Oof, that must have been like something that really got under your skin, right? Like if you have that kind of like compulsion, but lack the strength to actually be able to do anything. Yeah, I'm like the rain seems like it's lightening up. Because it's not over yet, that's why. The ending is ambiguous. Mm-hmm. Just so now we're interested. Yeah, it's like now it's like a research project. Yeah, I'm like, you were like, you can give me food. We already establish that he doesn't have food really with him? Sure. Snake is interesting. Imagery, like the different shapes. That's this is kind of what he does. Why do I feel like he does have a reason for traveling, other than just like Mushi, right? I love his face. Fair enough. I mean, after a while, you start to be able to find the signs, right? That's like your sole focus. Nice to have someone who can kind of gauge whether or not it's a normal rainbow or like Mushi. Love the like line up with the hands too, like the left hand of all things. I wonder if the left is hand is significant. Because what do we have like the right eye from Ginkgo, and then like the left is we've associated with like the rainbow and like the Mushi. Yeah, I'm like I feel like his dad didn't make it. Yeah, I'm like wasn't that the name of the Mushi? Seems like a bit of an endless battle though. To be like you just kept keep rebuilding it. Oh, left hand again. But like it was also the hand that his father had like the rainbow. All right. I just like assumed like his father passed away, but I guess not, and that's why we're kind of like on a time limit to find this rainbow. Okay, so that was a bit of a flashback then that we got at the beginning. Yeah, I guess that too. If you're like your dad is like sick, but also like people kind of assume he's crazy, and it's like I would like to prove that he is not, especially if like no one else could see what he's talking about. That's what I said. Even if it's not just like the search for like understanding Mushi or whatever, I feel like there's something. I'm curious like where is he from and how did he become a Mushishi, and like we've gotten some bits and pieces of him like being with other people, right? Like the doctor, like he knows people. Oof. You need to read him like that. Are you trying to forget your past? Are we projecting, maybe? The rain doesn't seem like it's letting up, so we could have stayed put. But maybe not with someone who's calling you pathetic. We're selling our wares? Are we that desperate to buy some food? I love the haziness of this. Like I can feel the heat of this. Interesting that we have thirst again. Again, like parallels with his father and like the obsession with finding the rainbow, but like one is kind of like compulsive because of like being like affected, and then one seems to be because of just like the need, but like now it seems like maybe we've been infected. I don't know, it's just like again, like it's like one feels like it was because of the mushi, and one feels like maybe it's just like the obsession and like guilt and like wanting something, like wanting to help your father, or like prove that your father is not crazy or whatever, right? But it's a very like similar attachment, right? Like obsession. Running in that heat too. Oy. Great like line up with those shots. Like almost all of the shots of the left hands in this have been like almost the exact same shot. I don't know if they're your friends if you laugh. They laugh at you for your name and not in like a fun camaraderie kind of way. And he didn't. Interesting choice. And that was when we left. Do we have the note with the name? Did we look at it? Feel like we're gonna have to come back to that name at some point. Perhaps. I don't know, maybe I won't get answers. Interesting music cue on him opening his eyes. Like part of that's like waking up, but then also perhaps because Mushi and he has like the eye that can see stuff. Interesting there too. Covered his left eye. And then we see the rainbow. Same as like Ginkgo, right? Right eye is visible. Again, I don't know about like Japanese folklore to know like connections of like right and left, but I definitely know in terms of like other cultures, right? Like right versus left in terms of like which one is like good, which one is bad, or like even which one like takes in energy as opposed to like puts out energy. So I don't know if that is like something ingrained with Japanese culture. Don't become more obsessed. Don't touch it. You're not gonna take it home. Ooh. It almost looked like a hand reached out. Or was it just like the way that it wrapped around his fingers? Hmm. Interesting. Oh, dangerous. Ah, floods. Like we had with the bridge. No purpose, like we had with the whole conversation of like, what is the purpose that like motivates you forward? You lost the motivation, like the purpose, right? Yeah, but again, it's also like freeing. It's doing this and that. Ooh, that's cool. Again, like not trying to fight the flow of the water, right? Before it was like the bridge was trying to like stay up to fight that flow against it. And the only thing that like worked as this bridge was to like allow the water to flow and then like realign when it calmed down, which I think is interesting with all these like natural forces, right? That we have with even like the rainbow. Super interesting episode as always. And like I again appreciate that this wasn't as much in the line of what does life mean as much, but it was more of like nature, right? And it's like I was getting in with the previous couple of episodes where I was like, I feel like we're learning more about how mushi are just like a natural phenomenon and they're not necessarily like inherently like bad or anything. Like a lot of the stories that we got early on were almost this like parasitic nature that mushi have towards humans, but that isn't intentionally bad or they're not intentionally trying to be like antagonistic to humans. That's just their nature, right? Like they're just trying to align with what their nature is, and it happens to be something that isn't necessarily good with humans or is misused by humans like we had in the last episode. Whereas like this one is digging more into the natural phenomenon, right? Like the floods in the water is going to flow the way it is, weather is going to exist the way it is, like the rain, right? All of those are very natural forces that you can't have control over. You can't control the flow of how that nature works. And it was only when they learned to make a bridge that wasn't trying to resist that natural flow of things that they actually had like a good solution. And I think that's a very interesting idea to bring in these mushi that are like very close to what natural phenomenons are, right? That there is no stopping it, there is no controlling it, there is no obtaining it, right? It is just something that is always out of reach. And I think that's really interesting. It's just like a concept of acknowledging that there are certain things you don't have control over and intertwining that with like purpose and what is like what motivates you. And I think that's interesting to also have that built into this dynamic of a parent to child, right? Like we don't get to control who our parents are or how they behave or what kind of like legacy they leave with us, right? Like people are going to make assumptions or judgments of us based on who our parents are, but we don't get to choose who those people are or how they behave. And all we have is to choose what we're going to be, sometimes despite who our parents are or the people that we're associated with, or choosing our own path regardless of who our parents are, even if we love our parents and we get along with them wherever, right? Everyone has their own relationships and history depending on who their parents are. But I think it's interesting to have that be part of the same kind of concept of what is something that we don't have control over in the world, what is something that's very like natural that we don't have that control over, which I think is just really fascinating. And like but we do get to choose what our goals are and what our purpose is in a lot of ways, right? We get to choose how we spend our life and the decisions that we make and how we spend our time, and whether or not we're like chasing after something or we're taking a rest, or if we're trying to fight against nature, or if we're going with the flow of it. Even going down to like thirst, right? Thirst is a very natural thing that we all feel and deal with as just like living organisms, right? And you don't get to choose those like kind of basic needs that come along with being alive. So I think that's all just like a really interesting concept to tangle up with like what mushi are and how we interact with them, and even just like the natural world, right? Like the natural world and weather and everything is something that we don't like have control over in a lot of ways. Sometimes we get a little bit too involved, right? Maybe that's just like the tree hugger in me, but like nature has a way of fighting back and balancing up the scales again. You fight against it or you try to control it and tame it. So I think that it's really interesting to have that intertwined with like mushi and like finding one's purpose and what is propelling us forward, right? Like kind of something instinctual or compulsory versus like a intentional decision of how one spends their life. All just really interesting things to contemplate and think about. Again, this show is just so good at making me consider like more like philosophical questions and all of that. And it makes me interested if we're going to get any kind of backstory on the Ginkgo and like where he's from and who he is outside of like being a Mushi-Shi. We don't really have any of that obviously early on in the episodes right now, but I don't know how much I'm going to get of that in this series just because of the nature of it being a little more episodic. I don't know if I'm ever going to dig into some of that and like his backstory, but it makes me intrigued to see if we're going to get any more hints and things about that. I feel like he's running from something. I feel like him being like, I'm just going to keep moving and I don't really have a purpose. I'm like, I feel like your purpose might be avoiding something. Like it might be not standing still, but I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to the next time I post a Mushi-Shi reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.